You know, when you think about the most dangerous jobs in the world, your mind probably goes straight to, like, deep-sea welders or...
Or maybe bomb disposal experts,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Bomb disposal.
Ah.
But diving into this massive stack of research for today's deep dive, there's this shocking statistic that completely redefines workplace hazards, honestly.
It really does. It's wild.
It is over 40% of U.S. presidents, and that is no fewer than 19 individuals have been targeted by assassins.
I mean, it really reframes how you look at the office, doesn't it?
Oh, totally.
When you realize, like, nearly 1 in 2 people holding that position has had a literal target on their back, it stops being just a historical footnote.
Right.
It becomes a structural reality of power.
It really does. So welcome to the deep dive, everyone. Today, we are opening up a massive trove of material. We've got historical documentaries, news transcripts, geopolitical blogs.
A lot of heavy reading this week.
So much reading. And they all cover the complex history of political assassinations. But our mission today for you, the listener, isn't just to do some, true crime recap of history's worst days.
Right, we're not just reading Wikipedia pages here.
Exactly. We want to understand the mechanics of history. We're exploring the psychology of why leaders are targeted, the bizarre methods used. And this is the big one, the massive, unpredictable butterfly effect these single acts have on the stability of the entire world.
But before we get rolling, we should probably set some ground rules, right?
Oh, yeah. Very important. Please do.
So we are looking at a really broad spectrum of research today, and some of it touches on very raw, highly charged recent events. Specifically, the assassination attempt on Donald Trump and the intense political rhetoric surrounding it from across the political spectrum.
Right, from both left-wing and right-wing figures.
Exactly. So just to be completely clear with you up front, our goal today isn't to take a political side or cast judgment or endorse any specific viewpoints.
Nope, not at all.
We are strictly here to look at the historical mechanics, the fallout, and the societal reactions exactly as the data and the sources present them.
We're just here for the analysis. So let's get right into the mind of the person pulling the trigger. Because reading through these accounts, it becomes pretty obvious that an assassin is rarely just trying to kill a human being.
Yeah, that's the core of it, really. They're almost always trying to kill a symbol.
A symbol, yeah.
The physical person is just like the avatar of an idea they want to destroy. Take John Wilkes Booth, for example.
Okay, yeah.
He didn't just want Abraham Lincoln dead out of some personal animosity. He saw himself as vindicating a secessionist South.
Right, because the Civil War had just ended.
Exactly. To Booth, Lincoln was the physical embodiment of the defeated Confederacy's humiliation. He was killing what Lincoln represented.
Okay, wait, I get that. I get targeting a wartime leader or, a dictator. But what about Nathuram Godse?
Yeah, Gandhi's assassin.
Right. He shot Mahatma Gandhi 3 times at a prayer meeting in 1948. If the goal is to destroy an oppressive ideology, isn't shooting a global icon of pacifism like the most counterproductive thing you could possibly do?
Well, sure, it seems that way to us, but you have to look at it through the twisted lens of the assassin's ideology.
Okay, unpack that for me.
So, to Godse, who was a militant Hindu nationalist, Gandhi wasn't a saint. He was a symbol of betrayal.
Really? Betrayal.
Yeah, Godse believed Gandhi was appeasing Muslims during the incredibly violent partition of India and Pakistan.
Wow.
Or consider Yigal Amir. He's the extremist who killed Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin in 1995.
Right, the Oslo Accords.
Exactly. Rabin was the symbol of those accords, the architect of the peace process with the Palestinians. Amir pulled the trigger specifically to halt that process. It's really about violently editing the trajectory of a nation.
Man, violently editing a nation. That is a heavy way to put it. But then there's a whole other category in this research that shifts away from grand political ideology and dives straight into the deeply, bizarrely personal.
Oh, the delusional assassin.
Yes. The logic is just completely untethered from reality.
Yeah, for them, the political figure isn't an ideological enemy. They're literally just a prop in a personal fantasy.
Like Charles Guiteau.
Oh, Guiteau is a perfect example.
Oh, wild. He shot President James Garfield in 1881, and his motive was that he believed he was owed a consulship to Paris.
A job he was wildly unqualified for, by the way.
Completely unqualified. Yeah. He was denied, so he just bought a gun.
Yeah.
Or John Hinckley Jr., who shot Ronald Reagan and gravely wounded James Brady in 1981.
Right.
He didn't care about Reaganomics or the Cold War or anything. He did it purely to impress the actress Jodie Foster.
Who he was stalking at the time.
Exactly. It's just terrifying.
And you see a very similar psychological profile with Mark David Chapman, who murdered John Lennon.
Oh, right, with the book.
Yeah, Chapman was just obsessed with J.D. Salinger's book, The Catcher in the Rye. He basically wanted to steal Lennon's fame, and he left a signed copy of the book behind as his literal manifesto.
It's like the ultimate twisted shortcut to immortality.
That's exactly what it is.
Like, if you can't build something great yourself, you just destroy someone who did, and boom, your name is in the history books forever. Do they really think killing a person erases an entire movement, though?
Usually they don't even think that far ahead. The act itself is the obsession.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me, though. It blows my mind how these world-altering delusions are actually carried out.
The methods.
Yeah, the methods. It's mind-boggling that someone driven by such a grandiose goal often relies on the most absurdly mundane or just precarious methods to pull it off.
Oh, the contrast between the gravity of the act and the absurdity of the method is staggering. Especially, when you look at state-sponsored plots during the Cold War.
Oh man, the Cold War stuff is like a spy movie.
It really is. Take Bulgarian dissident Georgy Markov. He was assassinated in London in 1978. Do you remember the weapon?
Was that the umbrella?
Yes, a microscopic ricin pellet injected into his leg by a modified umbrella while he was just waiting for a bus.
That is insane. And the escalation of these stealth weapons gets even wilder later on. You have Alexander Litvinenko in 2006.
The polonium-210.
Right, poisoned in the UK with radioactive polonium slipped into his tea. But the one that really gets me, honestly, is the 2017 assassination of Kim Jong-nam.
The half-brother of Kim Jong-un.
Yeah. He was killed in this busy Malaysian airport with VX nerve agent.
And the mechanism of delivery for that one was completely surreal.
Oh, it was. The two women who smeared the nerve agent on his face genuinely believed they were participating in a hidden camera prank show.
It's almost hard to believe.
It really highlights how modern state actors can manipulate completely unwitting people into carrying out international hits. And of course, we have to mention Fidel Castro.
Oh, Castro. Supposedly survived over 600 plots.
600, and some of them involve things that sound straight out of Wile E. Coyote blueprints, like exploding cigars, poison scuba suits.
I know, it sounds comical. But while the high-tech umbrellas and exploding cigars grab all the headlines, the most significant assassinations in history usually don't hinge on advanced technology.
What do they hinge on, then?
They hinge on minuscule margins of error. Tiny, tiny mistakes.
Yes. The sheer luck involved is terrifying. Think about Lincoln again. Booth got into the presidential box at Ford's Theater, largely because Lincoln's bodyguard took a break.
To grab a drink, right.
Yeah. He went to a tavern next door, and Booth just wedged a simple wooden brace against the door to lock it. Or look at the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in 1914.
Which was basically the catalyst for the First World War.
Exactly. And it happened because of a completely accidental wrong turn.
Unbelievable.
The Archduke's driver makes a mistake in Sarajevo, turns down the wrong street, and ends up stopped right in front of Gavrilo Princip.
Just right place, right time for the assassin.
And the driver couldn't just back away because the car didn't have a functioning reverse gear. It is terrifying that the fate of entire empires can hinge on a car not having a reverse gear or a bodyguard needing a beer.
It really puts things into perspective.
It does. Or even modern history. Look at former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. He was killed with a crude, taped-together homemade gun.
In Japan, of all places.
Right. A country that rarely sees more than 10 gun deaths in an entire year. So let me ask you this, as the expert. Does executive security actually work, or is it just security theater if a determined person is willing to trade their life for the target?
Well, it's definitely not just theater. But you are highlighting this really important concept of asymmetric vulnerability.
Asymmetric vulnerability.
Yeah, security protocols absolutely work. They quietly thwart countless threats that never make the news. But the fundamental problem is that executive security has to be perfect 100% of the time.
And the assassin.
The assassin only has to get lucky for 1 single second. The gap between those two realities is where history fractures.
Wow. 1 second. So what does this all mean? That brings us to the morning after. The trigger is pulled, the target is hit. Reading through the aftermath of these events in the sources, it struck me that assassinations almost never achieve what the killer actually wanted.
Almost never.
Instead, they just unleash these totally unpredictable shockwaves.
This is where we get into institutional resilience.
Yeah, okay.
How a society absorbs that shockwave depends entirely on its structure. The data draws a very clear line between nations with formal succession mechanisms and those with informal ones.
You know, while I was going through that part of the research, a structural analogy came to mind. Tell me if this makes sense.
Let's hear it.
So formal succession is like a modern electrical grid. A transformer blows, the lights flicker, but the system immediately reroutes the power so the city stays illuminated.
I like that.
But informal succession is like a single load-bearing pillar. You knock it out and the whole roof collapses.
That is a perfect way to visualize it. When you have a constitutionally mandated line of succession, your electrical grid, the system adapts.
Right.
Look at President William McKinley in 1901. He was shot by an anarchist, Leon Czolgosz, and he died of gangrene a week later.
Which was a massive national trauma.
Huge trauma. But the grid held. Vice President Teddy Roosevelt smoothly took the oath, and crucially, the institution evolved from the shock.
Oh, is that when the Secret Service stepped in?
Exactly. That event is why the Secret Service was permanently assigned to protect presidents. The system absorbed the blow and fortified itself.
But when we look at the load-bearing pillars, the informal successions, chaos just completely takes over.
Because in systems where power is held entirely by sheer force of personality or patronage or military loyalty, an assassination doesn't just change the leader, it deletes the government.
Deletes the government, wow.
Yeah, look at King Alexander of Yugoslavia in 1934. He was ruling as a dictator just to hold a deeply fractured kingdom together.
So he was the pillar.
Exactly. When he was assassinated in Marseille, the pillar collapsed. The resulting power vacuum in the Balkans eventually made it much easier for Hitler to penetrate the region.
And the example that really illustrates that collapse for me in the modern era is Sheikh Mujibur Rahman in Bangladesh.
Oh, absolutely.
He was the founding leader of the country, essentially the father of the nation, but he had consolidated power into a one-party state.
Right.
In 1975, he was murdered inside his home by his own soldiers, along with almost his entire family.
And did his removal bring about the democratic freedom the mutineers might have claimed they wanted?
Not at all. It plunged Bangladesh into years of brutal military coups, counter-coup, and political purges. The vacuum didn't create freedom, it just created a vortex.
And beyond just the institutional collapse, there is this massive sociological backfire that assassins consistently fail to anticipate.
What's that?
The martyrdom effect.
Oh, right.
The goal of an assassination is usually to silence a voice. But psychologically, the trauma of a violent death ends up handing that voice a megaphone that echoes through eternity.
Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X are prime examples here, right?
Echo.
Their violent deaths didn't resolve the civil rights arguments they were leading. It canonized them. They went from being controversial, heavily debated contemporary figures to immortal, untouchable symbols.
Even failed assassinations trigger a version of this effect.
Really? How so?
Well, think about when the IRA bombed the Brighton Hotel in 1984 trying to kill Margaret Thatcher.
Oh, and they missed.
And they missed her. But the resilience she showed in the immediate aftermath, she insisted the Conservative Party conference go on as planned the very next morning. It completely cemented her image as the Iron Lady.
So they inadvertently solidified her political brand.
Completely.
So if the historical sources prove that these acts almost always backfire, like Gandhi accidentally turning Gandhi into a global saint of peace, or the IRA making Thatcher invincible, why does it keep happening? Is it just a total blindness to history?
It's historical blindness, yes, but combined with the reality that these acts are rarely the product of cold, rational, long-term strategy.
So they're not thinking 10 steps ahead.
Not at all. They are driven by intense grievance, desperation, or extremism. The assassin becomes hyper-focused on the act of removal itself.
Like getting the obstacle out of the way.
Right. They operate under the delusion that the future will naturally align with their worldview once the obstacle is gone. They completely fail to calculate the sheer destructive force of the vacuum they leave behind.
And, you know, that failure to understand the aftermath brings us right into the modern era, because today, the immediate fallout of an assassination isn't just a local power vacuum anymore.
No, it's immediate and global.
It is a global, media-fueled paranoia machine.
The information age has completely rewired how societies process these traumas. We live in an era heavily defined by conspiracy culture.
It's wild to think that the entire modern conspiracy culture was basically birthed by just 27 seconds of silent 8mm footage.
The Zapruder film.
Yeah, the Zapruder film.
The assassination of John F. Kennedy in 1963 is really the inflection point for this.
How so?
Well, that short strip of film was analyzed frame by the public. It gave birth to decades of relentless theorizing. You know, the grassy knoll, the umbrella man, the magic bullet.
Right, everyone became an armchair detective.
Exactly. And it fundamentally fractured the American public's trust in official institutional narratives. And once that trust is broken, it rarely comes back.
And we saw that exact same dynamic of distrust echo immediately following the July 2024 assassination attempt on Donald Trump by Thomas Crooks.
The parallels are definitely there in terms of public reaction.
The reaction wasn't just shock, it was instantaneous polarization.
Right.
Theories spread across the internet in literally minutes. There were claims about Secret Service complicity, deep state setups, staged events.
Social media acts as a huge accelerant for that.
Definitely. And the rhetoric blame went in every direction, pointing fingers at extreme political language from both the Biden administration and from the former president's own history.
What's fascinating about that event, historically speaking, is the context of the timeline.
The gap between incidents, right.
Right. That incident broke a 43-year gap from the Reagan shooting in 1981 all the way to 2024. That was actually the longest period in U.S. history without a bullet being directed at a president.
Wow, 43 years. But the way society reacted to the end of that streak was so telling. In our hyper-connected world, an assassination attempt instantly becomes a weaponized narrative.
It becomes content almost.
Yes. The physical event is almost immediately overshadowed by the war over who is to blame for the cultural climate that caused it.
But as we look at how the modern world processes assassination, there is another massive shift we need to examine from the sources.
What's that?
The very definition of the word assassination is morphing, specifically regarding state-sponsored violence.
Oh, this stood out to me as a glaring double standard in the reading. It's a massive double standard, isn't it?
It really is.
As a society, we universally condemn a lone gunman in a crowd as an assassin and a tragedy. But when a recognized government uses a drone to drop a missile from thousands of miles away, we just rebrand it as foreign policy or counterterrorism.
Yeah, academics call it a profound process of normative erosion.
Normative erosion.
Right. Throughout the Cold War, and then heavily during the War on Terror, governments realized that the term assassination carries way too much legal and moral baggage. So they changed the terminology.
To what?
To targeted killings.
Right. And the historical examples of this evolution are just intense. I mean, look at the Western-backed plot against Patrice Lumumba.
It's the first democratically elected prime minister of the Democratic Republic of Congo in 1961.
Yes, he was executed, and his body was literally dissolved in sulfuric acid. A Belgian official even kept his teeth as morbid souvenirs.
This is brutal.
And then you fast forward to the modern era with these highly sanitized drone strikes, like the U.S. killing of Iranian General Soleimani in 2020.
Right, a totally different visual.
The methodology changed from acid to precision missiles, but the core action is identical, isn't it?
Exactly. By using terms like targeted killing, states attempt to legitimize lethal violence outside of recognized traditional battlefields.
It's all about the optics.
Yes. It's a way to bypass public, parliamentary, and international legal scrutiny. But if we strip away the bureaucratic language, whether it's a homemade gun in Nara, Japan, or a drone strike in Baghdad, the fundamental act remains the same. The calculated elimination of an individual to forcefully achieve a political objective.
Wow. We've covered incredible ground today. We started by looking at the twisted symbolic logic of lone actors. And we challenge the bizarre and sometimes absurdly fragile methods they rely on.
From umbrellas to missing reverse gears.
Exactly. And we mapped out the global shockwaves these acts create. From collapsing load-bearing pillars of government to birthing modern conspiracy culture, it is just clear that a single bullet doesn't just end a life. It actively rewrites the future.
It really forces us to confront how fragile our systems actually are.
It really does. And it leaves me with one final thought that, well, it wasn't explicitly in the research, but it feels like the inevitable next chapter to all of this.
What are you thinking?
We've talked about how history hinges on a bodyguard getting a beer or a car lacking a reverse gear. But what happens when technology and AI eventually allow states or security apparatuses to perfectly predict and neutralize any individual threat before a trigger is ever pulled?
Oh, a world with zero margins of error.
Right. If we eventually create a world where leaders are perfectly insulated by algorithms, will that perfectly secure future also mean the end of all disruptive political dissent? If a single bullet can start a world war or end a peace treaty, who is really in the driver's seat of human progress?
That is a fascinating point. If the only way to guarantee absolute security for the powerful is total surveillance of the populace, the cure might fundamentally alter society just as much as the assassinations did.
A heavy question to leave on, but that's why we do this. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Remember, keeping up with the complexities of the world doesn't have to be overwhelming. Keep questioning the narratives, keep exploring, and we'll be right here next time to help you unpack it all.